I like the trend SS where you drop in some hints of the next stories. So over to you for the third story SS. What have you got in store
Yeah,
for us?
yeah, we got another World Cup game, this time a big final. Change of scenery, not Ahmedabad, but Joburg, Bull Ring versus Australia, the great Australian team of the early 2000s. It was a sort of Ganguly-led team, having lost to Australia in the in the league stage, where a lot of bad memories come because we got bowled out cheaply, and then there was a lot of ruckus outside, a lot of cricketers' houses as well because the Indian media was happy with it, and the fans as well. But then we went on a spree, a lot of wins, reached the final against that Australian team. Hayden Gilchrist, Bunting, Eamon, Martin. You had to be on 100%. And even that 100% wouldn't be good enough. Probably like the modern women's ODI team, something like that. That was the aura of that great Australian team. Ganguly won the toss and decided to bowl first. And the first over, Zahir Khan spraying it all over. You knew that nerves were there, and great Australian batting. I think 140 by Ponting, big innings by Gilchrist, absolutely fluid innings by Martin. They made 359 for two, and we knew the match was done. But we had hope on that one guy who had done it in '98, who would do it 2008, who had done it who will do it in 2011 as well. Will Sachin do it? He was a top scorer in the league game as well, where we got bowled out cheaply as well. But he got out pretty early on, trying to pull McGrath as an old nemesis of Sachin, cotton bowled, and then from there on, it was a very tall order. The rain gods really tried to help us. When Hogg and Lehman were brought in, Sehwag was smacking. Sehwag made 82, but we knew that was only a flicker of hope, and it's the hope that kills us, and that's what killed us. We got bowled out for 234. I think Dravid made 47. We lost by what, 135 runs or something. And yeah, it pained for a very, very, very long time till the pain that you are going to tell us about, which is the biggest pain ever. Till that point arrives, the 2003 final was a big pain. To be really honest with you, I never felt we were more than 20% favorite to win that game. And I will have to ask you, what did you make of the toss decision Red Ganguly make? If we had won the toss and decided to bat first, would that have increased our chances to maybe 40%? What do you think about that?
I think probably the reason why Ganguly decided to bowl first was because we were chasing well. Our batting was clicking. So probably he had more confidence that ways and not really playing the opponent, playing the situation. So he was more backing basis what the team felt internally because we chased amazingly well against Pakistan. Again, an amazing bowling attack, Waqar, Wasim, Shoaib Akhtar, and we completely demolished them. Sachin was in the form of his life at that point of time. So, I mean, you got to back him. So probably I think that is what went on in Ganguly's mind at the toss. But as you said, we weren't the favorites, and there was a clear delta between India and the Australian side back then. So I would say 2 out of 10 times is when Australia gives us an inch, and we got to take that in case we want to turn the match
Yeah,
and win it. But otherwise, 8 out of 10 times Australia just cruises through. And
yeah,
that is what happened. But then you also mentioned a few other points, which was hope. I think hope everyone in India had. And a lot of it came from the NatWest series win a year back where
yeah,
we chased down 325, 326. We thought
yeah.
with Sachin clicking and
And a
if the
long
Indian
batting lineup till
team
number seven as
plays,
well.
yeah, and the long batting lineup, which didn't happen before. The Dravid taking up the gloves and giving us that luxury of having an extra batter. All of us felt that maybe, this is Sachin's night. He can pull off another desert storm. We can maybe just win this World Cup. But then McGrath putting that dagger in the hearts of every
Yeah,
Indian cricketing
yeah.
fan, at that pained.
And also because you know that Sehwag will take care of the run rate. So if you had a decent start, and you knew that was a great surface. Some years later, we'll find out how great a surface was when South Africa chased 434 on the same wicket against Australia. So you knew that
Absolutely.
a big partnership could have held, and maybe somebody like Jack Callis could have said in the dressing room, like Dinesh Mongia saying to all the Indian people that, yeah, I think the Aussies are 40 runs short. That could have that could
was
have turned it
was
in our favor.
Mongia Mongia was also an all rounder, right? He could bowl a bit of spin here and there.
Yeah, he could bowl some SLA, I think. But yeah, but there were a couple of dodgy decisions as well. I still see some old videos, grainy videos on Instagram where Harbhajan is like trapping Ponting or Gilchrist, and I was like, okay, maybe pre-DRS era, that could have been a big what if. But yeah, Australia were too good. I think even with 300, they would have found a way. They found so many ways to win the match. But yeah, it pains, but maybe not as painful as the memory that you are going to share with us. The final story from your side, AB.
Yeah, this time we come very close to the present, and we're actually coming close to a 2 year anniversary of that particular event. It is 19th November 2023, finals of 2023 Cricket World Cup in India. We are again at Ahmedabad at the Narendra Modi Stadium, and we have the Indian team, which is arguably the best white ball side which has been assembled in the recent times. The conversations are not around whether India is going to win it or not. The conversations are around how can any team even give this team a competition? That is how
Yeah,
strong we were going into that World Cup and in that World Cup. I remember everyone was clicking. I mean, that had
yeah,
never happened before, at least not in my cricket viewing time. At the top, you had Rohit Sharma giving us those starts. We had Shubman Gill playing the perfect support. He had the most amazing year that he has had yet. And then we had Virat Kohli in the form of his life, scoring hundreds for fun, the highest run getter in a single edition of World Cup ever, eclipsing Sachin in 2003, I believe. And then we had Shreyas Iyer, KL Rahul playing the perfect middle order role. We had Hardik Pandya earlier, and then we had Jadeja, Shami picking up wickets for fun. We had Bumrah in peak form. I mean, the entire lineup was through and through performing whatever they needed to do. And then we come in Ahmedabad. A few events that happened. One, reading the pitch wrong. Second, Gulbis effect. We'll talk about that. And then a few iconic moments. And we knew what happened. So starting off with the first one, which is reading the pitch wrong. I mean, it's like so weird. At home, we are reading the pitch incorrectly. Everyone knew that batting first is what we wanted to do. And but then Australia wins the toss, puts us in a surprise, and they select to bat second. And they apparently read the pitch better. They knew that it would probably bat better under the lights if they can see off that initial overs of seam bowling. And we batted first, and we saw what happened. It wasn't an easy pitch to bat on, and we went completely into that shell. And this brings the second point, which is the Gulbis effect. I know, SS, your affinity to this term, and you have read so much about it. So I'll give you the honors of talking to us about what this Goldfish
yeah.
effect is and what that did to us on that particular day.
A shout out to Jared Kimber for bringing Evan Gilbis to pop cult status. I don't think ever Evan Gilbis achieved so much fame by his cricketing prowess. But yeah, that's a term that came out from I think a BBL final actually, and which we talked in a certain different term. We say batters don't bowl, bowlers don't bat. And when Hardik Pandya gets injured, which is a two-dimensional player, or what MSK Prasad would say, a 3D player of the real sort. So what happens is then if wickets fall, you start to play conservatively because you know that you don't have the Lindy batting. And that's what led after the wickets fell. Kohli and Rahul, just because maybe it's a World Cup final, maybe it's the Galbis effect that they tried to play a bit more conventionally but more conservatively as well. And that led us to probably an underpass score. We needed 20-25 runs and then why? Because in the first place, our batters don't bowl that much. And the only guy that we got injured, and Hardik Pandya was such a big miss in the final. Because even though the surface he might not have been used so much in the bowling, but because of the balance he provided. And we underscored, and then, yeah, I mean, yeah, they read the pitch. I mean, it's just unbelievable that George friggin' Bailey read the pitch better than our own support staff, which had captain of Gujarat Titans playing for us. Shubman Gill. I mean, that goes just goes beyond
Amazing.
me. I still cannot fathom this fact that how did they read this better? But yeah, the Gulbis effect. I mean, essentially, India played conservatively in the batting, and there was a reason behind it because they didn't want to expose themselves. But because of that, they landed up short, and then Travis Head came to the fore.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about the Gulbis effect, we never felt that earlier in the tournament because the top order was always piling on runs. And Mohammad
Yeah,
Shami, who came in after Pandya got injured, was picking wickets for fun. It was only in the final when the real depth of Indian batting attack was tested. And that is where
because Rohit
we kind
didn't
of
fire.
faltered. We saw Actually, that is the first iconic moment that I wanted to speak of. Rohit did have that initial ignition, but then someone named Travis Head picked off that amazing catch. Very Kapil Dev-esque in that particular match. And that completely halted the Indian batting order. Like we saw Kohli and Rahul get into that shell when they were batting together, and we could never fire after that. We put on 240 odd, but then But then we saw what happened when Bumrah and Shami were bowling. The ball was just swinging around. And I thought that dismissal of Steve Smith was when I again had that hope that we'll be able
Yeah,
to pull this off, we'll be able to win this match. But then it was so painful to watch Bumrah beat Head again and again
yeah,
outside his edge and not getting that edge. And then eventually Head went on to score 140 odd, probably the biggest
yeah,
World Cup innings in the finals. And yeah, I
yeah,
mean, that pain still is there, very fresh.
yeah,
2 years later, we still talk about that.
yeah, yeah. And probably we'll keep talking till we beat Australia in an MCG ODI World Cup final, which I don't know, God knows when it will happen. But I think,
When
speaking
it
of
will
Travis
happen.
Head, I think he's the most infuriating cricketer for an Indian, I think. Because first of all, you always think that you can get him out, but he always scores runs against you in all the biggest matches. He surpassed David Boone and Javed Miandad and Saeed Anwar and Sanat Jayasuriya in the list of the most impactful player versus India and the most infuriating to watch. For more such content, keep following us on Instagram and YouTube, as well as on all podcasting platforms. We'll see you next week. Till then, goodbye.